We're talking about the debate of what business model you should emulate. And I said, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway's the king. Why? Bill Gates made more money, slightly, like $2 billion more. But Warren Buffett has the gangster ass life ever. He spends 8 hours a day reading. He has 22 people in his office, no stress. He'll walk to work. I've been to his house and his office. It's like a walking distance, just like I have. We were talking about versus Salesforce, Mark Benioff, who's worth $3.9 billion, which is a lot, but, and of course, where you're from, Salesforce, what'd you say?
Tallest building in San Francisco.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It has like fountains.
But I'm like, fuck that. What wins is what Warren Buffett did, which is unlock the entrepreneurial talent and potential in 75 managers. He owns one company, Berkshire Hathaway, that owns Geico, that owns Dairy Queen, that owns Coca-Cola, not all of it, but owns a large amount of shares. They used to own Bank of America, they own Amex, they own NetJets, and all this. And each one, he becomes skilled at just creating the compensation package for each executive. You know what it's like? What's the most powerful scientific theory of all time? The number one scientific theory, the most profound. What is it?
Everything falls apart.
No, a real scientific theory, Maya.
Newtonian laws of
No, no.
physics.
No, not Newton was debunked by Albert Einstein and all that.
But it works for the majority of this.
Like not for the quantum world.
Yeah.
But no, it's not the strongest or the smartest to survive, but it's the most adaptable. That
Darwinian.
is Darwin.
Yeah.
Joel Salatin used to always tell me, Mother Nature laughs last. It's the ultimate system. It's a system that gave birth to our DNA. Warren Buffett created this system. He's at the top, like the initial force, right? He injects a little bit of spark, if you study the origins of the planet and life, a little spark, and then it fights it out.
I thought it was going to be the second law of thermodynamics.
No, the second law of thermodynamics is not as profound and relevant to us as the theory of natural selection. So Warren Buffett has 75 companies, whereas Salesforce has one company, which is great. I'm not debunking and saying it's a better company than anything I've ever built, but it's not as powerful if you look at the facts. And like I always say, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And the fact is that Warren Buffett's model has stood the test of time since the 1960s. He's never really had a backwards moment. He's lived a low stress life. Him and his business partners are almost, I think Buffett's almost 90. I think he's 89. Munger's 93, I think. He's probably the most respected entrepreneur by other entrepreneurs. I mean, Bill Gates is maybe the smartest man on the planet, or one of them, and he completely respects Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And so when I look at what I want to do, one of the principles of 67 Steps is go straight to the top. Who do you want to learn basketball from? Michael Jordan or a good college player? Because if you learn from a good college player, that's great. You'll be pretty good. But I call it the rule of 1%. Odds are you'll only be 1% as good at basketball as Michael Jordan. So if you start at the highest level, probably the greatest basketball player of all time, he's up here. If you could play 1% as good as Michael Jordan, you will be badass when you go to the park. But if you start with this as your benchmark of what you're trying to achieve, a good college player, 1%, you'll just blend in at the court. You won't stand out. That's why I always train the best. If you watch my Snapchat and stuff, every guy that trains me, I was supposed to train today, I had to cancel. I do MMA, with Boz Rutan, one of the guys, I have a few. Boz Rutan won the UFC heavyweight 2 times. Twice. You know how hard it is to win the UFC? And then I do jiu-jitsu with Keegan Machado. He's the top, one of the tops. He fought Rickson Gracie. His Rickson Gracie fight, he ended up losing. He was like 17 years old when he fought Rickson, but he's the youngest black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu history, and he has a coral belt. He got a coral belt in his 40s, which is the only thing higher than that is a red belt. So my point is, in business, go to the top. It's just as easy to copy Buffett. Now, the other guy you could argue that should be copied is damn Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos.
Because he's a monster. Another one to copy is Walmart. If you want, Sam Walton's business model made a tremendous amount of money. So when you choose who to follow, to study, some people go, oh, Ty, who's better, you or this person in business? I'm like, you shouldn't be following either of us. That's why sometimes people are like, oh, you don't know anything. You just reiterate what other people say. I'm like, I hope you're not trying to insult me, because that's what I'm trying to do. That's a compliment to me. I'm trying to push you ahead. I am good at certain very minute amount of things. Very minute amount of things I'm pretty good and world class, but not many. I'm pretty good public speaker. I always have been. I can still public speak without any preparation. You know, my TEDx talk in the 1 year jumped to number 13 of all time, and all the other ones are, most of the other ones have been around 4 years. I'll probably end up number 5. I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just saying that is a core competency that I have. But the founder of IBM, Tom Watson, said he has a very small circle of competence, and he stays in that circle. And that's what Warren Buffett does. So you know, Jeff Bezos has an interesting platform, you know. But Jeff Bezos is also very Darwinian, because it's like single cells that evolve into something more powerful. So he started out just selling books. So he let that Darwinian cycle go, learn what fails, what survives. Mark Zuckerberg, same way. Started with just a social network that just evolved within Harvard. After Harvard, it really just his dorm to start with. Then all of Harvard, so the single cell goes into double cell. And then the cell evolved into the third place, which was all Ivy League schools. And then once he was in all Ivy League schools, it was all colleges. I remember when if you had it, you had to have a .edu. I remember going and being like, I'm gonna take a college class so I could get in damn Facebook. I went to NC State and I had one couple classes. I don't remember if it was just to get a Facebook thing, but then he evolved, he let it evolve. You find what doesn't work, we let it die, boom, boom, the evolution continues, and it evolved into the entire United States for everybody. And then he went global, and now the final evolution for him is basically going into places that don't have the internet. So it's almost like going into outer space. Remember that. Study from the best, learn from the best. Even if you only do 1% as well, you'll do pretty damn well. Even if you make 1% of the money that Warren Buffett makes. Warren Buffett makes $70 million a year. Who knows what 1% of that is? $700,000 a year. You make 700 G's a year, you'll be all right. His company does 200 billion in sales. 300 billion. So you get a company, your company does 1% as well, you'll be doing $2 to $3 billion a year. But if you study somebody who's making 100 million bucks a year, what's 1%? 1 million in gross sales. If you study somebody who's only making 10 million bucks a year, you'll end up at 1% making 100,000. And that's the mistake. People copy the wrong people. So all you who have ever said about, oh, Ty Lopez just spouts other people's stuff out, that's because I'm smarter than you. Not everybody. I was just saying it to those specific haters. Specific haters, not everybody. I'm not smarter than anybody. But people who come at me with that accusation, I'm like, are you brain dead? Oh, Michael Jordan, you only are good because you played under Dean Smith, the greatest college coach, and Phil Jackson, the greatest pro coach. And Michael Jordan would be like, yeah, that's a great part.
Yeah, but who cares?
You know when he goes, you know when Michael Jordan goes? What you say about these 6 rings? What you say about these 6 rings? Can't argue with success. No matter how you get it, as long as it's legal, honest, and ethical, go get it. And this is a technique. Those of you not in 67 steps, I didn't mean this video to be a push for my 67 steps. Mark my words, one day people, all the big schools will study my 67 steps. Not because I made it, because I compiled it from my personal mentors and other people I've learned from. It's powerful. I put it on my website. I've had 130,000 people go through it. It's one of the, people say colleges are big. Shit, I have more people go through it than almost every college in America doesn't have 130,000 students. And it's changed lives. I got about 70 to 80,000 testimonials on it. If you went to Amazon to buy something and the little star thing said 80,000 positive reviews, you probably, I don't think anything on Amazon has that many reviews.